So, first of all, I would like to say Tashadelek to all the viewers. As you know, you are listening to the series of teachings on departing from the four attachment. So this one is the second session. As always, first it is important to generate the thought renunciation towards the whole samsara and then to develop the infinite loving kindness and compassion towards all the sentient beings without any exception, and then to develop the wishing bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. So with these in mind, you should receive the teaching, and also with right motivation, I should give explanation on this teaching. If I'm giving the teaching with wrong motivation or with mundane intention, then it is not good for me. It is more harmful than beneficial to myself, because it looks like I'm doing something good by giving teaching, but my intention, my motive is wrong. So because of that, I won't be able to accumulate merit. So like myself, you also need to develop the right motivation whenever you do any practice or receiving any Dharma teachings from any guru or teacher. So, as you know, the teaching is on departing from the four attachment. So, to receive this, not only you need to develop the right motivation, but also you need to have the right attitude to receive the teaching, which means physically in a respectful form, verbally in complete silence, and mentally with strong faith and devotion. And also, when you listen to the teaching, you should listen in a proper way. Normally in the teaching it says you should receive the teaching which is free from the three faults of the container, which means the first one is if the container or the pot is upside down, then no matter however good food or drink that you try to pour into it, it won't get into it because the pot is upside down, so it cannot enter into the pot. So similarly, although our physical body is receiving the teaching or in the teaching hall, but if our mind is not focusing on the teaching, if our mind is distracted, if our mind is thinking something else, which is something that is very different from the teaching, or thinking about mundane things, then although physically you are there, but your mind is not there. So therefore, whatever teachings that you hear, you will not understand it because your mind is not paying attention to the teaching. So therefore, first we should avoid the first fault. Then second fault that we need to avoid is to avoid the fault which is like pot that is in the upright position, but it has a hole at bottom. So when the upright position pot has hole, then whatever you try to pour into it, it will enter, but it won't remain in the pot because it has a hole at the bottom. Because of that, it will leak or it will fall down from this hole. So similarly, even though you pay attention, you concentrate on the teacher's teaching, but if your mind has no mindfulness, or if you don't have mindfulness and alertness, then whatever teaching that you listen, you receive, will not remain in your mind because you will not remember it because you don't have the mindfulness and alertness. So forgetting the teachings is the second fault. And third fault is, for example, the pot has no hole at bottom and the pot is not upside down, so it has no fault as previous ones. But if the pot has some dirty things in it, like dust or something else, then because of these things, whatever you try to pour into it, like good food or good drink, after pouring into it, it becomes unedible or undrinkable because it is mixed with dust or something that is not edible or something that is not drinkable. So therefore, we should avoid the third fault, which means the 6 stains. So first one is that if a listener thinks the listener is more educated on the teaching more than the teacher, or if the listener thinks the listener is much higher than the teacher, with such pride, with such arrogance, if you receive the teaching, then it is fault. And second is not paying attention or not having interest in the teaching, or not having faith and devotion in the teaching. So second is not having faith and devotion. So if you don't have faith and devotion, then whatever you receive, you won't be able to practice in a proper way. So you are listening to the teaching just to find some faults on the teacher, trying to find some faults on the teacher or on his or her way of teaching it. And third is not having a real interest, not having real wish to learn the teaching, but you are just there because of something else, not mainly to receive the teaching. So then at the teaching place, if you are playing with some others, or if you are talking to some others about worldly things and if your mind is distracted, then it is not right. And this fourth one is distraction. As I said, distraction is the fourth one. If you are not paying attention, then it's fourth one. And if your mind is sleepy, or if you have dullness, or if your mind is very dull or not active, not fresh, then it is not right. And then this is fifth one. And if your mind has feeling sad because you don't know the meaning, or if your mind is feeling sad because the teaching sessions are too long, then that is also a fault. So sixth fault means first one is pride or arrogance, second is lack of faith or devotion, third is not paying attention or not having a serious interest or great interest, and fourth one is distraction, and fifth one is unactive mind, or mind that is not fresh, or mind that is very dull, and sixth one is sadness. So these six are called the six stains. So when you receive the teaching, you should not have these stains. So in short, you should remove the three faults of container like faults, and try to have proper perception, like thinking the teacher is like a skillful doctor, and the teaching is like the medicine, and oneself listening to the teachings are like the patient or sick person, and then the negative thoughts that we have in our mind, in our mental continuum, is like the severe sickness or illness. And practicing the teaching seriously after receiving the instruction or the teaching is like after receiving the doctor's instruction or advice, then following it with great attention, and through this one can recover from the sickness. And then sixth one is thinking the Buddha's teaching will remain, or may Buddha's teaching remains for a long period of time. So this is like, may the doctor's instructions can benefit many and can benefit for a long time, or something like that. And also, during the teaching, we can also practice the sixth perfection, which means the perfection of generosity, etc. Because the teacher is giving teaching, so giving teaching itself is the perfection of generosity. And during the teaching, you are not doing harmful actions through your physical actions or verbal actions. So you have abandoned the opposite of keeping the moral conduct, like harming others. So receiving teaching itself is keeping the moral conduct. And also bearing the hardship during the teaching itself is the practice of tolerance or the patience. And putting great effort with great joy to listen to the teaching or giving the teaching is the fourth perfection. And then focusing on the teaching single-pointedly without any distraction is the fifth perfection. And then understanding the deep meaning of the teaching or having the discriminated awareness is the sixth perfection, the perfection of wisdom. So therefore we can say that we can have the practice of six perfections during the teaching itself. So now, with such pure perception and also with the right attitude, you should receive the teaching. And the teaching itself is departing from the four attachments. And before giving the teaching, I would like to talk a little bit about the history of the teaching. Actually, this teaching is given by the Arya Manjushri. And Arya Manjushri is wisdom deity. Actually, there are many pit instructions on the general Mahayana teachings. And this is one of the most popular pit instruction teachings on general Mahayana. And this is given by the great Arya Manjushri. So if you talk about Arya Manjushri, if I talk about Arya Manjushri, then Arya Manjushri is great enlightened being. Because in the sutra, it says, just by reciting one name of Buddha is meritorious. And if we recite many names of Buddha, then of course it has great merit. So reciting name of Arya Manjushri one time is more meritorious than reciting all the Buddha's names for eons or for a long period of time. Because Arya Manjushri can perform all the activities of the Buddha. And also, Arya Manjushri is the one that caused many future Buddha to develop the bodhicitta. Also, like the present Buddha Shakyamuni was also caused by Arya Manjushri to develop bodhicitta in the beginning, and then later he attained the Buddhahood. And also, because of these reasons, we call Arya Manjushri as the father of all the Buddhas. And another reason is that Arya Manjushri is a combination of all the Buddha's wisdom, or we can say Arya Manjushri is the embodiment of all the Buddha's wisdom. So because of that, we say Arya Manjushri is the father of all the Buddha. So just by hearing the name of Arya Manjushri is very meritorious. So today we are trying to study and try to focus on Arya Manjushri teaching. The history of this teaching is that about more than 900 years ago, the main founding masters of the Sakyapa tradition is called the Sachen Kunka Nyingpo. In reality, Sachen Kunka Nyingpo is the Manjushri, is the Avalokiteshvara. But for the eyes of common people, Sachen Kunka Nyingpo lived like a normal person. So when he was very young, his Lord Father entered into the Mahaparinirvana, and then at that time he was only 11, 12 years old. And at that time his master, or his father's regent, called Parilotawa, he said, since your father is a great master, so therefore you also need to study first. And to study, you need the wisdom. And to gain wisdom, you need to practice Arya Manjushri. So then Lama Parilotawa gave Arya Manjushri initiation and oral transmission to Sachen Kunka Nyingpo and asked Sachen Kunka Nyingpo to practice the Arya Manjushri deity for 6 months. And then, according to the advice, Sachen Kunka Nyingpo is doing the 6-month practice of Arya Manjushri deity. And at that time, or at one time, in his pure vision, in Sachen Kunka Nyingpo's pure vision, he saw Arya Manjushri sitting on jewel throne and doing a preaching mudra. And Arya Manjushri is with the 2 retinues, or 2 bodhisattvas as a retinue. I think these 2 bodhisattvas are called Lodro Misepa and Pavatsekpa in Tibetan. So he saw Arya Manjushri with 2 bodhisattvas in real. And at that time, Arya Manjushri gave this bit instruction, which is profound and also which is the essence of Mahayana teaching, which is departing from the 4 attachment. So therefore, this teaching is short, only 4 lines, but it is the essence of all the Mahayana teaching. So whatever practice that we do, we need to have parting from the 4 attachment. With such motivation, we can practice Mahayana teaching, or we can do Mahayana practice. If we are attached to this life, or if we are attached to the samsara, etc., or with these attachments, it is not possible to do Mahayana practice. It is not possible to practice Mahayana teaching. So therefore, these meaning are very, very important to understand and also to apply into our daily life, into our action. So this teaching is given by Ayya Mingyur directly to Sachen Kunga Nyingbo. Then from that time onwards, up until now, it has been passed down through an unbroken lineage, and I myself received this teaching from my root guru, His Holiness the 41st Kongma Teaching Rinpoche, many times in different places. So this teaching, or this precious and profound teaching, has three parts, which are preliminary part, main part, and the conclusion part. So first is the main part. First is the preliminary part. And so for the preliminary part, we need to focus on refuge, and then we need to focus on bodhicitta. So first, refuge means the Mahayana refuge, which has the four special characters. So first, generally we should have the cause of refuge, which means the fear, faith, and compassion. And then the way we take refuge in the Guru and Tribalism is that we should think in front of us in the space there's a jewel throne lifted by 8 lines, 2 each from the 4 directions. And on this throne there's a lotus and mundis, and on these thrones or seats we should visualize the Buddha Shakyamuni, and behind Shakyamuni we should visualize a pile of Dharma books like a mountain, and then we should visualize the bodhisattvas, the noble bodhisattvas, like 8 noble bodhisattvas and others surrounding the Buddha and Dharma texts. So this is how we visualize the refuge field, the common or the general refuge field. And then we should think Buddha means the one who is free from all the obscurations and faults and sufferings, and the one who possesses all the ultimate qualities. And then Dharma means a method that can transform ordinary human beings into Buddha, or that can transform the negative thoughts into wisdom. That has 2 kinds, known as teaching and realization. And then Sangha means followers of the Buddha who has Buddhist vows, especially who has refuge vows. And according to the Mahayana, then someone who has refuge and bodhicitta vows. And we take refuge in the Triple Gem from this time until our self attains Buddhahood, for the sake of all the sentient beings. And who is taking refuge? Not only myself. Myself with all the sentient beings are taking refuge together. And all the sentient beings are not in their own individual forms, but all of them are in the form of precious human life. This is to make a special auspicious sign so that in the future they all can gain this precious human life in order to practice Buddha Dharma in a very meaningful and in a very purposeful way. And then we should take refuge. So, as I said before, the refuge has 4 special characters. So it means, from the course point of view, the special character of the refuge is the compassion. And from the purpose point of view, it means the purpose of taking refuge is not only for oneself, or not only for a few people, but for the sake of all the sentient beings. And the purpose of taking refuge is for the sake of all the sentient beings, which means countless sentient beings. And then the third is duration, or the time, which means not only until end of this life, but we are taking refuge until our self attains Buddhahood. And then the fourth is object, which means actually we are taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but mainly in the Buddha. So anyway, it has the 4 special characters. So with these characteristics, we should take refuge, and we should practice refuge in such a way. And then we should also know it has infinite benefits, and after taking refuge, we should keep the precepts, like general precepts and the individual precepts of refuge. And then second is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, bodhi means enlightened being or Buddha. Citta means our mind. So it means our mind that has the wish to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all the sentient beings. So generating such wish is called the wishing bodhicitta, and in order to attain Buddhahood, we must practice, we must engage in the path. And engaging in the path is called engaging bodhicitta. Engaging in the Dharma practice is called engaging bodhicitta. For example, if we wish to go to Bodh Gaya, just by having this wish, we won't reach Bodh Gaya. To reach Bodh Gaya, we should prepare. After having the wish, then we should prepare, we should travel on the path, and then finally we can reach Bodh Gaya. So just by having the wish, we will not reach there. After having the wish, then we should put effort to go there and to reach there. Similarly, after having the wish to attain Buddhahood, then we should put effort to do Dhamma practice so that finally we can reach the ultimate goal, which is to attain the Buddhahood for the sake of all the sentient beings. So these 2, refuge and bodhicitta, are the 2 preliminaries that are mentioned in this teaching. And then it is important to know that teachings are not just to hear. Teachings, after hearing it, then we need to practice it. We should have a connection. We should make connection between hearing the teaching and contemplating on the teaching. If these 2 has connection, if these 2 has cause and effect relationship, then it means after hearing it, we really contemplate. And then we should make cause and effect relationship between contemplation and meditation. And if we can do that, then it can really make great impact on our mind, and it can really help us to subdue our own wild mind. It can really help us to tame our wild mind, and we can really feel the benefits. We can really feel how effective it is to do such proper meditation. So these are very, very important. So I think with this, I will conclude my today's talk. Thank you. At the end, you should do the proper dedication as always. Thank you.